Good morning. It's Sunday, July 19th, 2026. My name is Terry Morgan. We are here for martial arts philosophy class. This morning, I'm going to talk a little bit about practice, talk a little bit about my own history and my teacher's history as more of a case study, not so much as a this is my history kind of thing. So, I'm actually going to use my notes and I've had a couple of chances to listen back to some of the things that I've been talking about. I found that I could be a little more concise. There are times when I do tend to wander, and I'm going to work on that. So that's part of what I'm going to try and do this morning. How did I get here? Where's my practice? What am I doing generally? How did I get here? Me personally. How did I get here? I played sports when I was a kid. Baseball, basketball. I softball, played basketball. I was tall when I was a kid. I stopped growing for some, and so my height advantage disappeared. I studied dance in college. I wanted to do something. I had played sports and I grew out of it, and adult teams weren't something that I wanted to engage with. Just didn't appeal to me. And I like dance. In college, I studied dance, and I was too old. I really was. I was in my 20s. And for a dancer, 20 something is kind of middle age. Later 20s, you're getting up there, and it's time to think about what you're going to do next. That discipline is something that starts when you're in your early teens, 12, 13, and then as you get into your early 20s, late teens, early 20s, that's when a dancer is usually, it varies with people, but that's when a dancer is usually at their prime. That's our bodies do that. It's part decision that this is what I want to do, and part this is my body and this is what it can do. I started looking at that. I said, I want something that I can keep doing. I what can I do? And Tai Chi came back. I had started early on, and it came back, and I started looking again to see what could I find that did not require I go somewhere. I don't have to have a membership to go practice Tai Chi. I don't. I don't need any special equipment to go practice Tai Chi. Don't. Removing those two barriers was something that I absolutely wanted to do. I was a swimmer when I was a kid. My dad took me to the swimming pool and we practiced swimming and diving, and he wanted me to be a competitive swimmer. I did not particularly want that. And that is also something that I'm going to talk about this morning, is this idea that with practice, we have to want to practice. Whatever it is we're doing, we have to want to do it. Otherwise, we won't practice. We won't. So my journey from playing sports as a kid to studying dance in college, and then realizing that I was actually too old to do some things, and that that age was not a barrier to Tai Chi. Everything I saw was older people practice. It's good for the body. It's low impact. There's no particular stress on the joints. You can develop skills, and this is good. It was similar to dance, continuous movement, and it had that long-term perspective of being something that I could practice as an older person. I still practice. I do. So what did I want? I wanted something I could do long term that was good exercise. I found much more, and that's what has kept me practicing Tai Chi. The layers of practice, the development of skills, and all of the ability that I have gained through that practice is what I wanted. If I hadn't practiced, I wouldn't have it. My own journey, playing sports as a kid, going to college, studying dance, and then finding Tai Chi, competitive Tai Chi, and then going to China to meet the person who was my teacher for 27 years, Professor Liu Zhang. When I went to China the first time, I was already a U.S. national champion in Tai Chi. I had learned Yang style Tai Chi from Huang Weilun, and I was competitive. First place, I'm competitive. So when I went to China the first time, I was looking for Tai Chi. It wasn't accidental. I was looking. Fate led me to meet Professor Liu. And that, excuse me, that, excuse me, sorry, I have to do this. That chance encounter gave me the next 40 years of what I'm doing. Interesting. I'm working very hard to clear my throat without coughing. All right, from this position, I can actually do that, so you didn't have to hear that. Isn't that great? All right, that burr in my throat is something else that I've been working on, and I've talked about this. It shows up periodically, and I'm trying to figure out why. When and why. Is it a physiological condition? Is it something that I can address in how I'm sitting, how I'm using my vocal mechanism? Is it something else? Is it something that is environmental? What's the problem here? And I realize that there are two things that happen. One is a physiological thing that it's either part of what I ate yesterday. Sometimes it is dairy, certain kind dairy, so cheese, milk, those kinds of things will create that kind of phlegm in the throat. And I'm talking about this for a couple of reasons. One is because it's happening. I have to address it. And two, because it matters for practice. It matters for what we're doing. If we don't understand what it is that we have going on, if we don't know, if we're not paying attention, how can we improve? How can we improve? We can't. We have to pay attention to what it is we're doing, what it is that's going on, and all of the things that go along with. So if I understand that there is an emotional component, whether I want it or not, it's there. There is an emotional component to what I'm doing, what I'm saying, that as I bring up certain topics, there are memories, there are tensions, there are things that go with that affect my speech. Getting that burr in the throat, coughing, not wanting to say. It's a limitation that I can overcome. I have to know that it exists. I have to know that's what's happening. I have to know why it's happening. I have to understand what goes on behind. And then I have to be able to address it. Those questions, the answers to those questions, are personal. It's not the physiological response is something that is universal. The mechanism that happens, the phlegm starts to build up in the back of the throat. The muscles in the lower part of the throat tense. The mouth muscles become much more tense and less pliable. And the natural swallowing process becomes constricted so that the phlegm builds up in the throat instead of just allowing it to pass through. That process, right now, yep, that process is something that we have to be conscious of and we have to be able to address. The same holds true with every movement, everything we do in all of the martial arts. If we don't understand what we're doing, if we don't pay attention to what we're doing and why we're doing it, how can we get better at doing it? That skill comes from practice. Practice comes from wanting to do something. That was my motivation for learning Tai Chi. I wanted to do something. I wanted to do some exercise. I didn't want to go to the gym. I looked at the exercises that people were doing at the gym, and they're good. There's a lot of very good exercises. There's a lot of benefit that comes from doing exercises to work the different muscle groups, to pay attention to certain things, which is what I was just talking about. What I realized was that the things that I would need to pay attention to were not the things I wanted to pay attention to. I liked the rhythmic movement from dance. Tai Chi has that. So does Qigong, so does Bagua, so does Xingyi, so do all of the other internal arts. I like the repetition. In ballet, we have standard bar exercises. Every single dance class that I went to, we did a bar. We did a bar set. They varied. The way that we did the exercises varied. That happens in Tai Chi too. We do the same exercises and we vary the way that we do them. We can do them the same over and over again and get better at doing them. That's the point. So if I learn something and I don't practice it, yeah. If I learn something and I practice it, that's where the benefit comes from. Now, I talked about a little bit my own practice, how I developed in my own journey from dance, from sports through dance to Tai Chi and to developing skills in all of the internal arts. My teacher's journey is different. He was born in China. This is Professor Liu Zhang. Huang Weilun was also born in China, so they both had a different cultural background growing up than I did. I was born in Kansas City. Very different cultural backgrounds. And when Professor Liu was growing up, his family was involved in martial arts. They practiced, they studied. His grandfather was an escort for travelers going between Zhengzhou and Kaifeng. That background, that history, led to him beginning his practice at a very early age. He was already doing sets by the time he was 6 years old. He started early. That history for him, my own history, they're both very different, but they have several things in common. We're both curious. We both wanted to learn. I came to my study of martial arts much later than my teachers, but we had that common desire that we wanted to learn. We were determined. We actually, you have to work at it. It's not something that just shows up, oh, well, here you go. And we were willing to practice. And that's what I've been talking about this morning, that willingness to practice. If you learn something that you don't want to practice, you won't. You won't. I learned jiu-jitsu. I learned some judo. I don't want to practice that. It didn't appeal to me. I was curious. I wanted to go find out. I wanted to understand what this was. And I wanted to try. Let me try that. Okay. No. Okay. I learned Tai Chi and I went to try. And, oh yeah, this is good. I like this. I would do it. That was the key. I liked the form. This was Yang style when I first started learning. And then when I started learning Wudang style Tai Chi, I liked the form even more. It had more complex movements. It had more dynamic than what I had learned from Yang style Tai Chi. Now, keep in mind, I practiced the slow form and the fast form, and I understand applications. So it wasn't that there wasn't anything there. It's that the theory of the form, the way the form moves, and the dynamics that go with the form is different than from Yang style to Wudang style. Yang style and Chen style are different as well. Yang style and Wu style are different. Those differences are part of what make up those particular styles and those particular forms. So for myself, when I'm practicing, I want to pay attention to different things. I do. If I'm only paying attention to one kind of thing, I get bored. If I'm paying attention to Yang style Tai Chi today, and that's all I pay attention to for 6 months, I would get bored. Now, when I was learning, I didn't, because I was learning the forms. I was trying to understand what I was doing. I was developing my skills. I've been working on this form for 40 years. If that's all I did, I'd get bored. Now, that's not to say there's not more that I could learn. And there's not to say there's not more to the Yang style system that I don't know that I could learn. Because there's quite a bit more. But based on what I know, what I've learned, it was and is something that I keep as something that is extremely valuable to me. I still practice and teach Yang style. But I also learned Xingyi, Bagua, Wudang style Tai Chi, Wudang style Qigong, Wudang sword, dragon sword, a little bit of Qina, if I didn't already say it, Wudang Qigong, a little bit of Shaolin. That variety gave me perspective on my own practice that I would not have otherwise. There are elements of all of those systems that I continue to practice and keep today. That long-term practice is a journey. It's part of how we develop the skills. It's part of what we've decided we want in practice. So if I don't really want to develop my practice, I won't. I won't do it. I won't get up and practice. I won't go to class. It won't happen. But if I want to do it, if I really want to do this, I will find a way. I will figure out what time of day I need to get up in order to go outside to practice. I will figure out how to arrange my schedule so that I can practice. I will set aside time so that as I am working on that habit of practice, I have that time. I arrange that time and I make sure that I use it because I want to. Not because somebody told me I had to, not because somebody said, oh, it's time to practice, not because I signed up for a class and this is class time, not because I have a membership and I paid for it so I might as well go use it, because I want to. I want to. That is one of the foundation elements, one of the keys to long-term practice. I want to do this. In looking at what you want to do, in paying attention to what you want to practice, as you do whatever the movements are, as you practice whatever that art is, how does it feel? How does it feel? Do you like it? Do you like the movements? If you do, it will show. Sorry about that. Um, Partly being human, I am. The idea that I was just talking about, that when you practice, what you like to do will come through. It will show. There's no hiding it. There's no maybe this one, maybe it will show. And that is what will keep you going long term. Recognizing what you like, recognizing what you don't like, understanding how much of what you like goes into your practice, because it's quite a lot. And how do you develop the skills to learn what you like without sacrificing what you don't like? Because there are some elements of Tai Chi that I'm not particularly fond of, but I practice them anyway because I want the art to remain whole and because those elements are integral to Tai Chi practice. It matters. So, as we practice, what do we like? What do we want? What do we keep? What are we going to practice over time? And how does that practice integrate with what we want? Is it going to get us where we want to go? When I started looking at Tai Chi 30, 40 years ago, I wanted something that was going to take me into old age. I found it. Thank you for being here this morning. I appreciate it.